Meet the Specialist, the definitive combat expert who excels in any situation, able to perform as a sniper, an infiltrator, or even just as a regular soldier, charging into danger and fighting anyone who threatens him or the people he is protecting. The Specialist has Strength 3, Perception 4, Endurance 6, Charisma 1, Intelligence 5, Agility 7 and Luck 3. A Strength of 3 will get us access to Armourer. The Specialist isn't exceptionally strong, so there's no need for more points in this stat. Perception of 4 will not only get us to Demolition Expert after we grab the early game bobblehead, but also represents that the Specialist is a decent marksman with solid aim. Endurance of 6 is here to represent how tough the Specialist is, and how much he can endure. Once you hear the backstory of his character, you should understand just how tough he truly is. Charisma is at 1. Although the Specialist does like being around others, he has no real persuasive skills. An Intelligence of 5 represents that the Specialist is fairly smart, and also will get us access to Science after we grab the bobblehead. Agility is at 7 in order for us to grab Ninja, arguably one of the most powerful perks in the game. It also helps to represent some of the Specialist's skills, as he is both quick and stealthy. Luck has been put at 3, as although most of the time the Specialist is quite unlucky, he does occasionally have strokes of good luck. The essential perks for this build are Rifleman, Gun Nut, Armourer, Sneak and Ninja. Most of your weapons will be affected by the Rifleman perk, so it's essential that you get each rank as soon as you can. In addition, as you are using a wide variety of guns, you will want to invest in Gun Nut. This will give you access to a ton of options with your weaponry. I've put Armourer as essential instead of recommended, as you will need it for at least a few modifications. Sneak and Ninja will work in combination to make this build deadly on stealth attacks. This build doesn't rely purely on stealth, but it is an important part of it, so it's worth grabbing at least a couple of ranks of each perk at the very least. The recommended perks are Demolition Expert, Scrapper, Science, Gunslinger and Scrounger. Demolition Expert is a great perk that is going to make you deadly with explosives. I like to constantly use fragmentation grenades whilst playing this build, and they can often wipe out a whole room with Demo Expert fully upgraded. Scrapper's going to be a handy little perk that will stop you having to rummage around too much for junk, as you can just break down weapons you don't need for the parts that you do. Science will give you a few more modding options with your gear, especially in terms of the scopes you have access to. This build does include a pistol as a secondary weapon, so getting Gunslinger is helpful, but as most of your weapons are rifles, it's definitely not essential. Having both the perks upgraded though does mean that you can pick up pretty much any weapon and use it effectively, which really helps to showcase the Specialist's skills. Scrounger is probably my favourite utility perk, as it gets you more ammo. It's a really nice and simple perk that stops you having to spend so many caps and means you rarely have to worry about being down to your last clip. The role-playing perks are Locksmith, Medic and Bloody Mess. Locksmith is a very helpful utility perk and helps to add to the tactical feel of this build. The Specialist can break into any locked room to reach his objective. Medic is a perk that it makes sense for the Specialist to have. He was incredibly well trained within the army, and this would have come with some pretty decent first aid training. Bloody Mess is here for 2 reasons. First of all is the damage boost, which is just pretty helpful to have, especially for a build that can use a few different weapon types. Secondly, it's here because the Specialist has lived through war and has been in far too many bloody battles and events. Every time he takes a life, he is reminded of all the battles he fought before the bombs fell. The Specialist was always a patriot who believed that all men should live free and that everyone should be willing to fight for that freedom. It was for this reason that he decided to join the military. He desired to help the people of America by ensuring they stayed free and could live the lives they wanted. His drive and passion made him stand out to all of his superior officers. They saw him as an incredibly determined individual who could be trained to be an excellent soldier. He endured some incredibly intense training to make him as tough, fast and resourceful as possible. He was taught to carry out missions in a variety of ways so that he could adapt to different situations. If it was required for him to be stealthy, then his footsteps were silent and he was invisible to the untrained eye. If mass firepower was needed, then he could lead a charge, geared up in power armour whilst wielding a combat shotgun. He became proficient with almost every weapon imaginable, but always preferred to use non-automatic weaponry. He liked to be precise and versatile, rather than just spraying lead and hoping for the best. Although he did put his skills to good use for a long time, he did eventually start to question what he was doing, mainly due to one member of his squad who kept claiming that fighting the Chinese was wrong and they shouldn't be carelessly ending lives. The Specialist tried to ignore this, but it did start to wear down his morale and make him wonder if he was truly fighting for the right side and for the right reasons. It turned out he was right to question these things, as, whilst his unit was preparing for the next mission and hiding out in an abandoned barn, they were suddenly attacked. The troops that attacked them clearly weren't Chinese forces. They wore various pieces of armour, but it had all quite clearly been created by the US military. The specialist watched as his fellow squadmates began to get torn to shreds around him, their blood washing over him. As the attackers charged, he knew there was nothing he could do to stop them, but that he had to fight to try and protect the remaining members left. He ordered the others to flee as he picked up his rifle and began to open fire, dropping 2 of them before a giant of a man was able to knock him out with a single blow from a power fist. It was several hours later when the specialist woke. In truth, he had been lucky to survive the massacre, and whilst looking at the scene around him, he saw that almost all of his squad were lying dead and he was completely alone. It was a long and harsh journey back to the next closest friendly military outpost, but upon arrival he didn't stop. He knew he had to find out why his squad had been attacked and who was responsible. Travelling from outpost to outpost, he was able to find other survivors of similar attacks, some from his own squad, but most from others. Together they were to uncover many hidden secrets about what was going on. The attacks all seemed to originate from one particular individual, a general who had apparently been seeking out and recruiting individuals for an unknown purpose. Although some of the others who the specialist had been travelling with had wanted to find more evidence about what had been going on, the specialist himself believed he had found out enough to act on. Despite wanting to take matters into his own hands, he was persuaded to turn over what he knew to the military itself, so that justice could be served. He had hoped that the general would be executed for what he had done, but it turned out that there wasn't enough evidence to justify such an action, so he had instead been removed from the military. It was after this that the specialist left the military. He had lost faith in them and knew he couldn't work for them any longer. After he left, he attempted to live a normal life and tried to forget the horrors that he had witnessed in his time. But it won't be long before he has to once again relive similar horrors as he is forced to live within the post-apocalyptic Commonwealth. The specialist is going to side mostly with the Minutemen. Although it may seem like he should join the Brotherhood, as they are the main military faction, they unfortunately remind him of the army that he once served, and is never able to fully trust them. Although he will help them to an extent, he won't be able to stick with them to the end. He may also help the railroad. He sees that their intentions are good, and is glad to have a chance to help save some lives. Due to their cloak and dagger nature though, he feels that they may be hiding some hidden agenda from him, and can't fully trust them. This leaves him with the Minutemen, a group of normal people just looking to survive. They remind him of the reason why he joined the pre-war military, to help protect people. They are the one faction where he will feel at ease, and they will give his life some purpose once more. Preston Garvey, Paladin Dance, Deacon and Macready are all valid companions. When doing faction-appropriate missions, take along the faction companion. The rest of the time, either take Macready along with you, or whichever companion you most prefer or who you are trying to build affinity with. I spent most of my time with Preston Garvey, as I felt that the specialist would get along with him most of all, as he is quite open and honest. The main armour for this build will be a full suit of shadowed combat armour, all modded out to be ultra light. I used the Destroyer's combat armour for most of my playtesting, and you can get this gear off of the merchants at Good Neighbour, Covenant, Bunker Hill and Vault 81. You will also want to have a decent suit of power armour. Obviously XO1 is the best you can get, and you'll want to upgrade it fully. There is only one mod that I personally recommend for this build, and that is the Medic Pump. This is a great piece of kit that will make sure you stay topped up on health as long as you have stimpaks to spare, which shouldn't be too difficult as I always seem to have a few hundred more than I need. In terms of weapons, I suggest carrying around a shadowed combat knife for close range stealth kills. These are a bit difficult to pull off, but if you do it's almost always a one-hit kill. For your main weapons, I suggest a combat shotgun, combat rifle, and some form of sniper rifle. In addition, carry around a 10mm pistol as your sidearm, for rapid fast firing. I personally use Justice as my shotgun and Splatter Cannon for my sniper rifle, but for the rest of my weapons I just use legendary variants that I found. You will want to make all of your weapons silenced, even the shotgun, and equip appropriate sights or scopes. I enjoyed mixing the sights and weapons around a bit for different situations, constantly having a mix of glow sights and reflex on my rifle and switching between night vision and long scope on the sniper. There are two different ways to play whilst using this build. You can go loud or go quiet. Either tank your way through enemies while suited up in power armour, or silently eliminate your targets one by one. In addition, the specialist is a combat expert, so you can mix and match whatever tactics you need to complete your mission most effectively. Thanks for watching this latest build. Please leave feedback in the comments below. I'm especially interested with what all of you think about the backgrounds, as I've been doing something a little different with them recently, and want to know how they are coming across. Make sure to like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel too. If you made it this far through the video, you've obviously been enjoying it, so you're probably going to enjoy the content I've got coming in the future. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you in my next video.